Hello, my name is Grian, and today I'm going to be showing you 10 hidden uses of the Ender Dragon head. Now, the crew were messing around and they found loads of cool things that I didn't even think about, so I'm going to be showcasing them here today. So this is the Hungry Caterpillar. It's an old children's book, but you can make it by using the dragon head. Now, there are two ways to make it, and I'll show you both, the easy way and the slightly harder way. The first thing you need to do is place down the dragon head backwards, and then you can simply place the blocks in the order that they need to be in. Now, this does cause the slight problem that there's a gap in between the dragon head and the body, and you can slightly see the eyes. If you're a perfectionist, you might want to use an armor stand instead. So all you have to do is make a small hole in the ground and the armor stand in, making sure that there is a half slab on the floor, and then you place the dragon head, making sure it faces backwards, and then you can go ahead and add all of the stained clay in the correct order. But that leaves a little problem at the front where there's a hole where you have your armor stand. So the easy way to fix this is by using a piston head, which you then power to push a grass block underneath the armor stand. At the same time, this will push the dragon head into the block to make it look a little more integrated, and it removes that gap between them. Next up, we have a very similar design, but this one is specifically for sheep, and you can see there's also the difference between just placing it down and having it on an arm stand. You can see the gap there, and this one which has a tail because it's pushed slightly into the block. So I've set up everything you need to do here. You just need to place a block, have exactly the same setup with the armor stand, place the head, and power the piston. It does exactly the same thing, pushes the head into the block, you cover up any residual mess, and then you have a miniature sheep, and they're very, very cute. And unique. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do this before. Next up is just a simple place them, and it looks good, and that symbolizes a toaster. I mean, it also looks like a plug, but with a little bit of imagination, you can also see it as a toaster. You literally just face the correct way, place the dragon head down into the wall so you can't see the face, and there you have a black toaster. Next up, I'm not quite sure what this could be, but I thought I'd include it anyway since it's kind of interesting. You can see the head through the staircase, and you can power it to create maybe a can crusher, ? Perhaps someone has an idea for how this could be interesting, or maybe if you lined up a whole bunch of them, you could make some interesting moving patterns. Not quite sure, but I thought I'd include it anyway. Next up is a way to decorate paths, but specifically for this one, it looks like loose coal bars on top of the coal ore as a way of decoration. Now, I've set up everything you need to do in order to perform this. You need a half slab on the floor and then a bunch of armor stands, and you can see I've coupled them together by powering a piston and pushing them onto the same block. You then go ahead and place the dragon heads on top of the armor stands in different positions, and that's quite key to get the sort of mixture of positions of the coal bars on the top. Once you've done that, you then need to power pistons to push the coal ore into the armor stands so that the dragon head ears pop over the top, making sure that they directly go above the coal ore. You then fill in the holes, and then you have your coal decorations. Using the same technique, we can do a bunch of extra things. So we can decorate paths. Now, this is just made of podzol and dirt, but you can see the effect it has. They look kind of like stones with a little bit of imagination, but this one in particular is a really cool way of making it look scorched around a lava pool. So you have to push the pistons into the center, much like we did with grouping them up under the coal. So once you've done that, again, you just cover up the hole with some netherrack. You could even have multiple pools of lava if you are willing to dedicate enough time to them, and it's the same story underneath there. All you have to do is make sure you have that half slab, otherwise the dragon heads won't pop out the top. Next up is my favorite design, and probably the hardest to pull off. It's a piano with some actual keys. The top of the dragon head actually make them, so let's go over how you do this. It's actually fairly annoying to make. So you need exactly 5 layers of snow. Then you place the armor stand, but you need to get the angle absolutely perfect, and I haven't quite mastered how they work in 1.9.2, but if you place the dragon head on these armor stands with 5 snow, you then get them roughly in the right position. You will have to repeatedly break them and replace them to make sure that they are as straight as possible, and even I in this video didn't get it quite right. But I'm not going to spend ages doing it over and over again to get it correct. You then take the quartz staircase and place them over the top of the dragon's face. Once you've done that, you can cover up what you can see of the armor stand with dark oak staircase, and then you will be able to have your keys. You can also place a little stool in front of it if you so wish. But as you can see, the keys aren't quite perfectly in line, and neither are they the correct height. That's what you need to work on really hard and place them over and over again if you want them absolutely perfect. But if you're happy with that, then there's nothing wrong with it. And then to get those trapdoors in place, you just need to, again, use a piston to push the trapdoors over the top of the dragon heads. Now, I actually pushed them just over the top instead of integrated into them. You'll actually need to push them one down if you want the ears of the dragon, or horns, I'm not quite sure what they are, to look like the strings of the piano. That's what makes this even cleverer. The snout makes the keys and the head makes the strings, as you can see in the original design. Now, this is definitely the hardest one to pull off because, again, it's so fickle to do. Next up, we have a design for a cog on the floor. Now, this is a weird one, and I'm not quite sure what you would use it for. Maybe even just a floor pattern, something unique in the game. But again, I would think it is a hidden use. Now, without a block on the top, it actually looks like a unique circle dropper bin, something like that. So you drop all your items into it with a hopper underneath that picks up all of those items, and this is a really good design for perhaps someone that makes vanilla maps and doesn't do a resource pack, or perhaps you want to use it for trash disposal. And this is how you make it. You need to have armor stands separated up in a singular block nerd pole, and the armor stands need to be facing an 8th turn or 6th turn or whatever it is, and then you remove the blocks and they all fall on top of each other to create a perfect circle. And that's when it looks a little bit strange, but once you've got rid of your nerd pole, you can then go ahead and start covering it up with some blocks, and that's when the shape really starts to come to life. Now, you could leave it like this and have a really weird looking dragon umbrella, but I couldn't honestly find a use for it. So yeah, you can see how weird that looks, and if you manage to get that many dragon heads, fair play. I guess you could make a dragon shrine, but for the most part, you just cover up the faces of the dragon and you're left with a rather interesting looking shape. And then if you want to integrate a block into that and have it as a solid thing, maybe for a pattern on the floor, you just again need to use a piston and shove it into place to create that solid flooring. Maybe it's a pattern, maybe it's just for fun, who knows, but you're probably going to need creative to acquire that many dragon heads in the first place, so I'm assuming you will be able to produce these fairly easily. So that's it for the 10 hidden uses of the dragon heads. You got these cool patterns, the piano keys, which is my all-time favorite, the way to scorch around a lava pool, which is obviously going to take a long time, a cool way to decorate a path, and also an expensive way. Now, these are very time consuming, but they look awesome. The can crusher, whatever you want, the toaster, the cool sheep, and the hungry caterpillar. So that's it, everyone. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I just want to give a quick shout out to the crew who came up with the majority of these designs, and a big shout out to H-Monkey who did a lot of them in particular. Thank you very much for watching again. Goodbye!